Last time on Shadow Piece, we learned that Absalom is actually the long-lost prince of the Shikiaru kingdom, and that was only the case because the princess Tamar found him inside of a small village while he was invisible. Apparently this princess has an ability, a devil fruit power, that makes her able to see even invisible things or things that no one has seen. So, now we are inside of the royal carriage where Tamar is explaining Absalom things about himself, his past, the family, the situation of the kingdom, and everything else. Let's get right into it. As I said, Tamar explains to Absalom that the actual reason he got sent away at birth was to protect him. While his sister is older than him, the kingdom said that the firstborn son will be the heir to the throne. So they as a group, his father the king and his mother the queen, even with a heavy heart and even though they didn't really want to do it, for the safety of their son, they decided to send Absalom away with one of the kingdom's most trusted guards. When the news of said guard's death reached the ears of the king, he was devastated because he just assumed that if the guard died, and the guard was really strong, his son would be dead as well. The son he was so proud of was either all alone or possibly already dead. The last picture they had gotten was of Absalom's modest, poorly executed 7th birthday, and Absalom has already aged a few years since then. While most people lost faith, Tamar, his sister, kept believing that her younger brother and the righteous heir to the throne was still alive. This situation only got more complicated when a woman appeared, claiming her son was the child of the king as well. The queen and the king looked at the pair, and it turned out the child was one the king had created prior to Absalom's birth. It was a situation in which many believed that Absalom's mother became unable to bear children after giving birth to Tamar. Obviously, this didn't turn out to be true, and Amnon and his mother appeared shortly after Absalom's apparent death. But the options were limited, and Amnon became the new heir to the throne, and his mother became not necessarily the queen, but she was also invited into the castle and lived there as the second wife of the king. But let's go back to the carriage. With Absalom visible again, his sister not only knows for sure that they are siblings, as they share the same blonde hair and silver eyes, plus Absalom still wore a top hat with the kingdom symbol on it, even if the top hat was already quite scattered and destroyed. While with his guardian, Absalom learned a lot about manners, but his years alone also made him rough around the edges. I mean, Absalom needed to survive on his own. He needed to manage to survive while he was only 7 years old, and that for multiple years. Not even talking about the years where he was invisible. You can already imagine the reactions of everyone when the prince returned together with Absalom, her little brother. Only 2 people didn't express joy: Amnon and his mother. As Amnon was still the oldest, he kept his position as the heir, but many believed that Absalom should be the next king, as he is the first son of the king and the queen, not the son of the king and his second wife, that the king actually only sought after but because he was desperate, because they all thought that the queen would not be able to bear another child. Years went by, Absalom grew taller and stronger, remaining ever so close to the princess, his sister, and his mother. He lost his first mother figure, the guardian, that was always protecting him, so he was sort of unsure what to do. He wanted to make sure that all the people close to him remained safe, especially because they treated him so nice, and he actually felt like this was his family. He felt like he was at home. One day, Absalom left to the village he had lived in as a child. It was the death anniversary of his guardian, so he visited her grave and left her some flowers. As she was his quasi-mother, if you want to call it that, he had a really close connection to her, and even though he has now met his real mother, this person, this woman, will always hold a special place in his heart. He spent some time with the villagers. They all remembered his past as this mischievous and still charming little boy, and now he turned out to be the prince. So a few of them also felt bad about how they treated him. But this didn't stop Absalom from also activating his devil fruit powers he now has better control of and sneaking inside of the woman's bath before leaving and going somewhere else. All of this was done while Absalom didn't expect what devastating event was about to strike him and the entire kingdom. After a week away, a messenger came to Absalom with the message, "The queen has died, the king is bedridden, and the princess won't come out of her room anymore." Instantly, Absalom rushes back as fast as he could. He was welcomed by his half-brother Amnon, and he looked like he knew something more, but Absalom couldn't think about it a lot. So Amnon started speaking. "Greetings, Absalom. I hope your travel was joyous. It is quite unlucky that all these things happened as soon as you left their sides." First, Absalom visited his father. He didn't care about what Amnon said. He always was suspicious of his brother, but it was family, so he just put it away and thought like, no, it couldn't be. And then when he talked with his father.
"Oh, my son, I'm glad that you returned. Our kingdom is in considerable danger. The queen, your mother, died."
Absalom clenches his fist and crunches his teeth.
"But not only that, your sister has also locked herself in her room. I'm just glad you're safe."
Absalom looks at his father. He's heard stories about his father before coming to the kingdom and spent the last 10 years together with him. Only recently did he turn into this weak version. It was all too suspicious. "Father, listen to me. Amnon and his scheming mother are the reason for all of this. We need to get rid of them before it is too late." "Silence!"
"Absalom, we are a family. You are going to be Amnon's right-hand man once he becomes king."
"I would rather become a pirate than work together with this scum." Absalom slams the door behind him when he rushes outside of the room. The king looks after his son.
"To think the day would come where my own family is fighting against each other. What will become out of our kingdom if this continues?"
Still angry, Absalom walks to his sister's room, knocking on the door as soon as he arrives. No reaction. And again, this time also shouting, "Hey, it's me, Absalom!" After some time, the door opened. When Absalom opens the door, his sister is already back in her bed. "Hey sis." No answer. "Is everything okay? I heard the thing about mom." No answer. Absalom inches closer with every sentence until he reaches the bed. The shine from the princess's eyes is gone. Her usual smile is not present either. "Hey Tamar, talk with me. What's going on?" Absalom shouts at his sister, not out of anger, but because he fears what might have happened. He kneels down and looks at Tamar. "Hey, just talk with me, please." She looks Absalom in the face. I am worthless. Mother died. I lost everything, and we could do nothing. Father doesn't even realize what is happening, but Amnon." As soon as the name of the half-brother drops, Tamar starts crying uncontrollably, and Absalom smashes his hand in the wall, creating cracks around the point of impact. Absalom was about to rush off and destroy Amnon once and for all, but his sister grabs him at his arm. "Stop! I don't want to lose you. I can't. This is all too much." Absalom is furious. He was raised like a noble since he returned to his family. Mercilessly killing someone isn't the right thing to do. He knows that. But he also can only imagine what his half-brother did to his family. He takes multiple deep breaths and leaves the room. If that is what his sister wishes for, he will do so. Is at least what he thought at this moment. Weeks passed and his father didn't recover, becoming less and less of a person and more of just a husk of himself, both physically and mentally. One time, Absalom went together with his half-brother Amnon into the city. All the citizens laughed and welcomed Absalom. Amnon wasn't met with the same level of motivation, which obviously infuriated the brother. It was obvious he held a grudge against Absalom, even though he got everything he wanted, the royalist heir to the throne, his mother becoming the queen now that Absalom's mother is dead, and finally his victory over everything Absalom held dear. When they returned to the castle, it was an uproar once again, and the attendants explained to them that the princess has fallen down the stairs and died. Absalom, without missing a second, glared at Amnon, who just said, "Hey, I was out together with you. I'm just as shocked as you are." Absalom follows the attendant to his sister's body, but he didn't miss Amnon's smile when he walked away. There she lies, Tamar's body, cold and motionless. Nobody else in the family is in the room. Absalom has lost everything. The woman that acted as his mom and guardian when he was away in the small village, his actual mother, his savior, the sister who rescued him from never being seen again. And if that wasn't enough, his father may be alive, but could be basically considered dead. He can't talk much anymore, he doesn't eat a lot anymore, he's only surviving because the doctors take care of him. That's nothing you can consider alive. He was filled with nothing but anger and darkness. He went to Amnon's room and kicked the door down. However, when Absalom actually grabs his half-brother by the collar, he remembers the last word his sister said to him. "I don't want to lose you." Tamar was already dead, but Absalom didn't want to risk his life and ignore his sister's last wish. So he pushed his brother to the ground and left the room. 2 years went by. The now 21-year-old Absalom started to grow out his hair and tried his best to get along with his stepmother and half-brother, but they didn't hide their animosity towards Absalom. A feast was being held once again, as Amnon and his mother always spent money not caring about the kingdom's people, increasing the taxes over and over again. Absalom's father was also there, but he couldn't eat anything solid, and without 24/7 medical treatment, he would basically already be dead. Amnon kept drinking and drinking until he was completely drunk. In this state, he walked towards Absalom with a smile and confessed, "I did everything, you know?" Absalom is confused. It's been 2 years since his sister's death, a bit longer for his mother's. "What do you mean?" Absalom stumbles over his own words. "You know? Or are you actually as stupid as you look? Me and my mother organized to kill your guardian when you were living in that village? But you somehow survived, like we had to put another plan. Then this wench, your sister, actually managed to find you. So I made it my personal mission to break you. Your mother's death was my instructions, father's current condition, my plan, and Tamar's decisions? Well, I took everything from her, so she had only 2 choices. Become mine or disappear." Absalom was dumbfounded. All his assumptions were right. This one man ruined his life. He tripped into the table and fell to his knees on the floor. Yes, yes, yes! That's exactly the face I wanted to see. Your beautiful blonde hair, these silver eyes with just a glimmer of hope left in them. Lose everything, my dear brother, until I finally win and control you as well. Even if their father was in the room as well, he couldn't do anything. He was too weak to move, but his eyes also showed pure anger. Absalom looked his father in the eyes. What was even left to cherish? Everything is died, and now he knows who did it. Before it was just an assumption, but now he knows that everything he thought of since the day he met his half-brother for the first time was actually right. He should just embrace the abyss, jump into the darkness. Absalom snapped. His eyes turned from the usual silver into the scarlet color he will have even in the future. He turns his arm invisible and grabs the knife on the table. Absalom doesn't hesitate. While Amnon kept monologuing, he used the skills he learned from the guards and ran the knife into Amnon's neck. His contract with death was thus signed. Amnon's mother, the queen, shrieked out in fear. She called the guards, and all they could see was a bloodied Absalom who attacked his half-brother just now. There was only one thing he could do. Absalom turned invisible and looked at his father one last time. The barely alive man smiled, even though he couldn't see his son again. Even if his son got killed just now. That exact son was also the reason so many people close to him died or disappeared for a long time. This was the last time Absalom ever saw his father or his kingdom. Invisible, he ran away until he somehow found himself in the West Blue. When he went from ship to ship until he reached an island where he encountered Maria, Gecko Maria. was later going to become a member of the Seven Warlords. Moria himself was also feeling down after losing every single of his comrades after he battled Kaido on Wano country, so both of them were quite devastated, and together they helped themselves get through the hardest time, so they have a close connection. At the age of 25, Absalom then officially joined Moria and they formed a new pirate crew. Not the Moria Pirates, not the Absalom Pirates or anything. They became the Thriller Bark Pirates and planned to make a big ship. 4 years later, at 29, Hawkback also joined them. In the meantime, Perona also joined them as well, and Perona became something like a daughter to Moria, and Absalom, I think he might have seen something like his sister in her, like the mischievous side of his sister, or the other connections, or whatever else could be there. Absalom just wanted to get rid of the thoughts of his past and go into the future with this new family. Over time, they actually became something like a new family to him, but even though that was the case, the trauma remained. He continued to grow out his hair to have the same blonde long hair as his sister, but that was only a coping measure. The Shikiaru kingdom, where he was actually the heir of, fell. It was completely done. It was just a matter of time until it was destroyed under the rule of the ignorant queen. She kept raising the taxes, she didn't care about the people and the citizens of the kingdom. She made deals with the world government, with revolutionaries, with pirates, and all these things just to get herself out of something. But she died somewhere along the line as well. And Absalom's father died shortly after the Dark Messiah left. It was just finished. His kingdom, his home island, everything was just a ruin, and he had nowhere to return to. So even if he wanted to leave Moria and the others and go back to his home now that everything is dead, there would be nobody there to welcome him. Everything is over. So he can finish that chapter of his life, is what he thought at that point. The island on which the Shikiaru kingdom is located is now only known as the Kuragainu Island. It is a dark and gloomy place somewhere in the Grand Line, as I stated. It was once the home of the now fallen Shikiaru kingdom, but that's a matter of the past. The forest island is relatively deserted except for some ruins. Amongst the landscape, the island possesses unique hills, and it still has one castle remaining. It was the castle where the queen has lived in until her final moments, but now someone else resides in this castle, and that is Dracul Mihawk. The strongest swordsman has now made this island his home, and Perona has also spent some time there, so without knowing it, Perona has visited Absalom's home and the castle he has lived in as he was still a child and a teenager. So if there is ever a time that Absalom visits Perona when she is together with Mihawk, he will also return back to his home. But that's a matter for another time. Now we know what's going on in Absalom's past and why he doesn't want to die. He still has the wish of his sister in his mind that says, I don't want to lose you. And Absalom doesn't want to give up his life. He doesn't want to die himself, and he doesn't want to betray the last wish his sister ever gave him. So he needs to find a way to survive, to win against Queen, or maybe make Queen fight against someone else, and win this whole situation. But how this battle is going to turn out is something we are going to talk about in the next episode of Shadow Piece. I hope you enjoyed this backstory of Absalom, because it's over. We finally finished the backstory in a two-parter, and next week we're going to resume the battle between Absalom and Queen, I assume. If not, something might come between there. And as always, all that's left to say from me is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. This has been Pyro Primer, and we will see each other in the next video. Until then, bye!